TNA Wrestling is back, ladies and gentlemen. Hard to Kill 2024 match card and predictions. How appropriate this show is called Hard to Kill, because TNA has been hard to kill over the years. Over the last 2 decades, there have been some ups, there have been quite a few downs. We've had a change of the company name, we've had Impact Wrestling, we've had GCW, and of course now, at 2024, we are back with TNA. Scott D'Amore coming in the last few years into Impact Wrestling, rebranding everything, changing everything for the better, and now look where the company is now. Bright, great shows, great characters, a great roster. Everything is positive with it, and it's the right time to come back to TNA. There are 10 matches we're going to be talking about here today on the video. I've got a special guest with me as well. But just before we get into that, here is the match card that we'll be discussing here today. Card from top to bottom there for us. Get involved with your predictions in the comments below, and if you're watching on delay, thank you for doing so. Love to know your predictions as well for Hard to Kill 2024. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to bring in my special guest for me today. Of course, he is a regular on this channel. It is the one and the only. Put your hands together for Mr. NXSteve.
Thank you very much. It's almost like watching in front of a live audience.
It is indeed, isn't it? Yeah, I thought I'd try something a bit different there for you interested. How are you doing, my friend? Are you looking forward to TNA Hard to Kill?
Yeah, I am actually. Like, it's been a while since I've really sat down and watched any TNA, and it's almost like a complete reset for me. And like I said, my goal this year is to just try and watch more TNA this year. And I think with a brand new rebranding, and almost feels like a complete fresh start. It's almost like watching a brand new wrestling company again.
It feels like it. I mean, there's so many changes as well. There's been so many, signings that have been made, and obviously re-signings as well. The likes of Trent Seven's been signed. Dani Luna's been signed. We've seen re-signings of people like the Rascalz, Eddie Edwards, just to name a couple. TNA mean business. Kushida, another one that's signed as well. That's just off the top of my head as well. There was plenty additions to this roster as well, and surprise elements that have come into this show. We do know, obviously, we've got the Grizzled Young Vets, which I know you're looking forward to talking about on this stream, to be involved in the tag team title match. As well as that, we've got Alex Hammerstone as well. That's going to be part of this show as well. So there's a few surprise packages, and also we've got the big surprise, the Worlds Collide. Who will be the mystery person coming in? Scott D'Amore has promised a few surprises along the way as well. So this is an exciting time, an exciting show to be watching, to be a part of if you're part of that TNA brand and TNA roster. Like you said, it's the full reset button. It's like watching starting again. There's not a lot of build for a number of these matches, but still, just looking at the card, there is a lot of excitement there. And I've got to say, what are your excitement levels for this show?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's for me, it's like watching an indie show for the first time. Like, it's all fresh. It's all like, I know a lot of these wrestlers, like the Rascalz, I know, the Grizzled Young Veterans, I know, Trinity, I know, Jordynne Grace. So there's some familiar names, but then it'll be fresh to see some people that I've maybe never seen before. Like, I've never been PCO's biggest fan, but I know he's hard as nails, and I know he's like he does things the hard way. So I'm excited to see like what he can do in a match.
Absolutely, well, he's not human. Let's be fair when it comes to that there. But yeah, I mean, for me, excitement levels, I've got to say, I'm quite hyped for this show. The different level. It's the show I'm most looking forward to this weekend. I know we've got Battle at the Valley New Japan. We've got obviously SmackDown regular for Friday, and obviously as well AEW going with their Battle of the Belts. Not for me, thank you. TNA all the way. Hard to Kill is the show I am most looking forward to, and I've got to say the surprises are probably what I'm most excited about. But match type as well. I've got to say I'm quite looking forward to Josh Alexander versus Alex Hammerstone, mainly because I've not seen much of Alex Hammerstone in ring. So for me, the fact it's been built as like a first-time showdown, it's almost built like a dream match. For me, that is a match that really stands out for me. What would be the match that you probably looking at that card are most looking forward to?
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that one, but for me, tag team, the Fatal 4-Way tag team match, it's the one that I'm most gassed about because, like I said, I know what the Rascalz can do. I know what the Grizzled Young Veterans can do. You throw two other teams in there, and I reckon that's going to be an absolute barn burner.
I think as well, looking at that lineup, it could potentially steal the entire show. Yeah, it's going to be a fun time for sure there. But like we say, for those that are watching, thank you for watching. Make sure to get involved with your comments as we go through the video and obviously your predictions as well. And like we say, make sure to hit the like button. Really helps this video here on YouTube. So without further ado, let's not waste any time. Let's get into the countdown to Hard to Kill. There's 3 matches been announced for that. And NXT, I've got to say, the first match we're going to actually talk about, I'm shocked it's not on the main card. Rich Swann taking on Steve Maclin. We're talking 2 former Impact Wrestling World Champions. Now, Rich Swann, it's been a couple of years since he's been the World Champion, but Steve Maclin was, well, a World Champion just a short time ago. Had been feuding with Bully Ray up until the rebound has been done. I'm surprised this match has just been thrown here on the countdown, but this probably shows the strength in depth that is a part of the roster for TNA, and perhaps one of some of the big surprises are on this night that 2 of the bigger names don't actually even make the main show.
Yeah, especially for me, Rich Swann, because I know when Rich Swann left WWE and he went to Impact, he was like his main guy. He was involved in so many stories with Moose, for example, and just a whole plethora of names. I mean, is this going to be free to air? Do we know? Is it going to be on YouTube or what? Because I mean, that's the one reason I can think that they're doing this, is throwing big names on the on essentially what is a kickoff show or pre-show. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's just some early names. I think this one's more for probably the regular Impact viewers, like just so it's been like, look, here's some guys that you do know that are going to be on the show. And I suppose even for new people, it's just to show, look, this is the depth of talent that we have.
I can confirm it will be on YouTube, and I think for Impact Insiders and obviously for people on Impact Plus, I think people will get the access to this for free. So these first 3 matches, without actually having to order the pay-per-view, you get to see them. Like you say, there obviously you got 2, household names for TNA, for Impact Wrestling fans, so you get to see this match. Probably guaranteed quality as well. We know what Rich Swann can provide in the ring. Great high-flying ability. Steve Maclin is Mr. No-Nonsense. Let's be fair. Mr. Mayhem, he prefers to call himself. For me, when it comes down to a prediction, I'm going to go for Steve Maclin to pick up the win here. Obviously, he's more recent being a world champion. He's someone that is used to being towards the top of the card at this point in Impact Wrestling. And I think that I could see him getting the W here. How do you see this one playing out? Rich Swann or Steve Maclin? Who takes the W for you?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they're both. The thing is, they're both former world champions, so it's kind of like, hell, I don't know. Maybe this is just a showcase, this one, but I'm probably going to agree with you and go Maclin on it. Like, as much as I like Rich Swann, because I'm a massive fan of cruiserweights and what they can do. Like you said, I think Maclin has got more character depth wise, with obviously more recently being the world champion.
Yeah, he definitely is at this moment. Definitely. I mean, Rich Swann certainly has been someone that he's been with Sami Callihan before. Sami left the company to go to MLW, so he's sort of been teaming with him. We went back into sort of the X division, obviously, the high flying sort of stuff. But this is a match he's been presented with here, and hopefully it should be a great way to kick off the show. We'll quickly go into the next match because we've got a great comment coming from Leo, and Leo, I want to get to that in a couple of seconds' time. But first of all, I have to just quickly talk about 2 TNA originals teaming together, and Eric Young, Frankie Kazarian. I said again, a surprise this is not on the main show. We're talking 2 TNA originals here. Going against Eddie Edwards, of course, it was part of the TNA era, but of course has been Mr. Impact Wrestling, it feels, over the last few years. Team with Brian Myers, this tag team encounter. Just a little bit of background for NXTsteve as well. He's not been following so much on the TNA side. We've had Brian Myers and Moose as a tag team for a portion, let's say, of 2023. Now, Moose won the Call Your Shot Gauntlet at Bound for Glory. That gave him the chance to go for the World Heavyweight Championship, the TNA Championship, which, of course, is the main event of this show. That's left Brian Myers with, well, much to do, really, sort of twiddling his thumbs. So in the meantime, he's got a new tag team partner, someone who's very familiar with tag team wrestling, in Eddie Edwards. So they are looking to take over the tag team division in the meantime. And of course, Eric Young, Frankie Kazarian, 2 TNA originals, does exactly what it says on the tin. Introducing TNA for perhaps to new viewers for the first time, or to old viewers coming back in, they'll see 2 regular faces here, Eric Young and Frankie Kazarian. And like you said on the last match, maybe that's why this makes most sense to put this here on the countdown where everyone can see those familiar faces.
Yeah, I mean, isn't Eric Young a former world champion as well at some point from being, yes, that's what I'm saying. Eddie Edwards is a former world champion. Brian Myers is obviously ex-WWE from being Kurt Hawkins. Is it Kurt Hawkins he used to be called? I can't remember. Yeah. And then obviously Frankie Kazarian, he's an original. He's an original TNA. So, do you know what I mean? There's so much depth in this match alone, or so much history, should I say, just from the names that are being involved. And again, like I said, I think it's one of them reasons for people to tune in, whether you're an original TNA fan, whether you're an Impact fan. There's something for everyone in this one.
Absolutely, indeed, there, and I think it makes it quite an exciting encounter. Again, not so much on the story depth to go here with the combatants involved in this one, but one thing I did notice beforehand was before or around the announcement of the TNA change, Josh Alexander was teamed with Eric Young. I think it was around the turning point time. And now it seems to be Frankie Kazarian that's the tag team partner for now. So it feels that maybe they're going to move on from the Eric Young, Josh Alexander tag team idea that they were doing. So it'd be interesting who's going to pick up the win. But I think the established, or looking to be the established team moving forward, is Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers. Would that make them the strong prediction to make for this match?
I think so. I mean, for me, I'm still a bit confused by Frankie Kazarian's whole position, because I know when he re-signed with Impact, his whole thing was to go for the world title, and almost to be on this show in a kickoff in a tag team match, it seems almost like he's in the wrong place. So, for me, I'd have to say Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers are winning this one as well.
My only reasoning for it is, like we said, because I think there could be the established team. Depending on who wins the tag team titles, could determine a lot of here. Maybe this could be the next challenges could be set from this one. That's the other thing that could be interesting from here, because I would say the one to take the pinfall in this match, if there was one, would be Brian Myers. But at the same time, maybe this just makes sense to push maybe some of the. I say Brian Myers is a new guy. He's been around for years. He's been in the ring just as long as the rest of them. But yeah, I've got a funny feeling the heels will take this one. But saying that though, I've gone for Maclin as a heel in the last match. I'm sure a babyface needs to win in one of the matches, and might give a sport away what I think is going to be said for the next match. But I'm going to change a pick. I'm going to go for Eric Young and Frankie Kazarian, just because I think we need some good guys winning, and it is TNA Originals. TNA's come back. Maybe that is the right pattern to go.
Possibly, but then, like I said, I think it depends on, like, if you look at the four of them, the four of these guys, who's going to be around longer and probably feature more on TV? Because I imagine Eric Young and Frankie Kazarian have probably got more of a backstage role than they have as an in-ring personality. So I don't know. I see that's why for me I've gone with Eddie Edwards, really, because I think Eddie Edwards is probably the most likely one to have probably the biggest run out of the four of them.
Potentially could be the case there. Well, we're split on this one, so that's quite fun indeed there. And obviously, it's a last minute change from me there on the prediction. But hey, we'll go into the other match very, very shortly. But we have a couple of comments that have come in. Pierre in house as well. As always, Pierre, thank you for checking us out. Hope you are keeping well. And Kicking It with Leo is in the house with us as well. Says, I think Ashley Sabira, of course, formerly known as Dana Brooke, will show up as a surprise entrant for the Ultimate X match and will win and cash in on Trinity or Jordynne Grace, because they're going to need a new top star for the women's division. A very interesting point there. Leo, we're going to be talking about Dana Brooke later in this video, but unfortunately it's going to be a little bit later on. It's not going to be in the early stages, but I do like the point he's brought up there. Certainly, we said that TNA is looking to put some surprises in. That definitely would be a big surprise if something like that was to go down.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just the thing is like this whole surprise signing is just a complete like I'm still thrown with who it could possibly be. So it's going to be interesting when we get around to talking to it. But like I said, it does sound like a good idea. Obviously, depending on what Trinity's doing, because no one knows if she's going to stay with WWE with TNA or if she's going to go back to WWE. So again, it's one to wait and see with that one.
It is indeed, and it's going to be exciting as we go through the predictions here to see what we think is going to go down. But we have one more match then on the countdown, and then we'll go to the main show. We've got Tommy Dreamer defending the Digital Media Championship against Crazy Steve. Now, of course, there is a bit of background to this one. Crazy Steve winning one of the briefcases in Feast or Fired on the Impact Wrestling or TNA 1000th episode, however you want to put it down at this point. Crazy Steve had the title shot and didn't get the job done. Tommy Dreamer then did successfully retain the championship, I believe, against Dina at the Final Resolution show in December. That now has led to a rematch here at the Hard to Kill show in January. I kind of give my prediction away already here, because I said I think a babyface needs to win on the kickoff. Well, Crazy Steve is no babyface, and I think he's going to be walking away with that Digital Media Championship. Tommy Dreamer, yeah, he's someone that's been around in the TNA days, but he's been around for a good over 30 years. I think it's time for a fresh face to hold that Digital Media Championship. How do you feel about that, NXSteve?
See, I was just looking at his run. Like, he's obviously had this title since September, and he's dropped it to. No, sorry. I'm just trying. No, yeah, and he's obviously faced Crazy Steve before and won. So I don't know. Like, I I think what causes more of a bigger shock is possibly a title change on a pre-show. Really, like I think that could be almost a talking point and a reason why is to say tune into this show. So, do you know what? For me, I'm going to go Crazy Steve. I think why not?
He's crazy. And we're both called Steve. So it just feels weird not to go for Crazy Steve. So that's what we're going to do. But our comments have got involved here as well. And just a shout as well to say hello to Noob and Co TV in house. Noob, hope you're doing well. Thank you for checking out the stream and hope that your week is going well. It does also go on to say Crazy Steve is just crazy. It's exactly what it says on the tin. He doesn't let us down. Pierre says, got some opinions here on Trinity. Says that Trinity, she's not going to stay in TNA for much longer with rumors and the Rumble coming up. If Naomi, it's the name switch there, do you see that? Is in the Rumble, she's going to do a Kofi saving. Potentially could do. She is famous for doing so. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see how it will play out. And Pierre hopes that if Kofi is involved, there's no botch this year for a save as well. But we'll save that for a WWE day. But is there anything you'd like to say before we go on to the main card?
No, man, go for it. Let's get on to the main show.
Let's get on to that main show then. Well, I'll tell you what, I forgot to put some of the graphics up through a couple of these matches. So I'm going to try to remember to do it from here on in. So as we go into the main show, let's talk about one of the most important things of TNA history is the X Division. So let's start off with the X Division Championship. We've got a freeway for this title as well. Chris Sabin defending against Kushida, defending also against Vikingo as well, which we've seen quite a lot in All Elite Wrestling. Should be awesome to see him have an appearance here at Hard to Kill. Obviously, Chris Sabin as well and Kushida have been teaming as well with Alex Shelley in the past as well. I believe they're known as Time Machine when they're all together as a trio. But of course, their opponents here as well. This match should be absolutely awesome. This should represent everything the X Division's always been about. Chris Sabin, of course, has been was held the most titles in X Division history. I think he's on like 9 or 10 at this point. And of course, like I say, we've got two crazy X Division style wrestlers in there. Vikingo, certainly insane, very innovative with his moveset. Kushida, of course, very well known for how he is as well with this sort of style of wrestling. So this should be an absolute banger, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, this, if you're going to open a show, what a way to open it. I mean, especially Vikingo, that guy is unreal. Like his stuff in AEW I've seen recently is just immense. And for me, he's just one of them guys like I put in the same plethora as like Bandido, just some guys that you watch and honestly you just don't know what he's going to do. Like 1 minute he could be on the floor and then 2 seconds later he'll be on the top rope jumping to the outside. Or do you know what I mean? He's just a catalog of craziness himself. Like he's just one that he's always one to watch. Chris Sabin, the guy speaks for himself. What I think previously a 10-time X Division champion or something like that, or something like some crazy stat. And then Kushida just like, dude, I've seen Kushida in indie shows, I've seen Kushida in New Japan, I've seen him in NXT. Just a solid wrestler, man. I'm really looking forward to this one.
He's a great signing to be there full time now for TNA. I'm looking forward to see what they're going to do with him going forward. It actually makes me tempted to make him my prediction because of the fact he's now a signing now, not someone that's going to be there some of the time and then not other parts of the time. It feels like he will be there now probably all the time. Vikingo, obviously, perhaps there for a good time, not a long time, but does that make it to a point that maybe they could do the surprise package? He wins the title, has a couple of defenses, then maybe drops it to someone else, or do we see Sabin actually being someone that retains the X Division Championship, obviously being the TNA original going into this, a TNA concept as well from back in the days? Who makes the most sense here to pick up the victory in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm sticking with Sabin. As much as I'd love to see Vikingo get a run with it, unless he's signed to him. I know TNA have done it before with they've done it sparingly before where they've had an outsider be one of their champions, but I think it says a lot more for the company if someone like Chris Sabin picks it up. I mean, I wouldn't be against Kushida winning it either way, but for me, I can see Sabin retaining.
Absolutely, indeed. For me, I'm going to agree with you. I think that I've gone with a couple of TNA originals, and I think this is like, I can see this match being early in the evening. I can't see it being the opener, but I can see it being early. And I think that the motto should be to work with what's going to be the future of TNA. But Chris Sabin is, even though he's the past, he's still the present, and he'll carry this division into the future. He is the steady pair of hands. Vikingo, like we say, could be there to just take the pinfall. I think Kushida will be a future X Division champion. I think they may just drag this out for 1 or 2 months. Maybe we'll talk maybe April time, maybe Rebellion time could be the time that strap could be changed because, yeah, I don't know if every title will change here on this show, but I certainly think that X Division should stay where it is. Should we go to the comments to see what everyone's got to say? Because there's quite a few come in.
Yeah, go for
Let's
it, mate.
Let's see what everyone's got to say. Kicking Leo, kicking things off as well. A lot of kicking, it seems here. Kushida wins, and it creates a feud between himself and Chris Sabin. Interesting stuff indeed. Obviously, talking about what we could say in the future, but it says Kushida picking up the W here. Do like that indeed. We've got a comment here from Zane. Zane for checking this out. Thank you. I hope you're doing well. Says, do you think reports are true that WWE and TNA will work together in the future? The only thing that would make me suggest that that could be the case is that big saying, which we're going to talk about towards the end of the video. So yes, you're gonna have to stick around if you want to hear us talk about this in more depth, but the wording here, worlds will collide, that made me wonder if it would be a part of it, because of the fact that obviously NXT used to have their worlds collide shows. Could there be something in that, or am I just taking something out of thin air and hoping?
I mean, there's all speculation, especially with WWE going out to Japan soon, and they want to do something with All Japan Pro Wrestling. They've literally just let Charlie Dempsey go off to All Japan and wrestle there. I would not be against, or I would not be surprised if NXT does a talent share with TNA. Because I think that's a great way for us, because they've got a lot of green wrestlers there, and I think if you want to send them out on an excursion and just send them to somewhere like TNA, get them some TV time, help them develop as a person. I mean, obviously, WWE and NXT will have say over their character, so I imagine they'll go in with the character they have from NXT. I mean, hell, why not? I mean, let's be honest, NXT back in the day used to let wrestlers do Evolve. They used to let them do all different kinds of shows and stuff. I mean, I literally was just watching the other day Pete Dunne versus Ospreay, when Ospreay was never openweight champion and Pete Dunne was United Kingdom champion, and it's just like it's crazy that they do that. So I honestly, I can see it being some sort of talent show with NXT, and I'd be well up for that.
I would be well up for that as well there. I wouldn't be against it, and do I think the reports are true? So far, it's not suggested it will be true, but I would say hope rather than expect at this point.
Yeah.
But there is a couple of indications that could suggest there could be something. NXT could be the thing that would make the most sense there that NXT has just put forward. Roger asking, I'm going to subscribe to the TNA Plus app. That's certainly something that's in my plans in the near future to do so. Absolutely.
It's something I've got to look into. Obviously, I'm already subscribed to like Amazon and the WWE Network and Netflix and YouTube, and it's kind of like, yeah, sure. It depends on how. I think that's something I'll make a decision more down the line. Depends on how much I can actually get involved and watch TNA.
I think that's the case as well for myself with that at this particular moment. We'd love to do some retro TNA content. We've got quite a few people watching this as well. So if people are interested in that kind of thing, let us know. And we know if that demand is there as well, because that certainly would give a bit of a push, a bit of a nudge to go and do that as well there. And we've got one further question. Pierre obviously has made a comment as well at Katana chance of potentially having big spots in the Rumble as well. Apologies, Pierre. And we're going to keep the Rumble talk to a minimum today. We're looking to keep things on hard to kill only. But Roger here says, do we think that Alexander Hammerstone and Zaya Brookside will sign with TNA, not just one night only? Obviously, two of those big surprises coming in for the night, but will they stick around? Roger asks, what do you reckon?
I'm hoping Hammerstone does. I mean, for me, I know MLW is not exactly the most widely broadcast wrestling show. So for me, especially the fact that if they're going to do a talent share maybe, or even like, obviously we know that Impact has done stuff before with AEW. I think if TNA could sign him, there's an opportunity for him to go and do stuff in AEW, even possibly go to Japan and do some stuff. So I think Alex Hammerstone is the one to sign out of this. Zaya Brookside, I wouldn't be against TNA signing her. I just don't think she's a big enough name. I mean, let me rephrase that. I think it'd be great if TNA signed her. I just don't think she has a big enough name yet to be kind of like a headliner at the minute, but I'm all up for seeing her in TNA.
She's a potential to grow in TNA. Yes. She could certainly work her way up the ladder, but in a couple of months we'll be discussing if she can work her way up the turnbuckle to go across the zip line to get to the Ultimate X. We'll talk about that in a couple of minutes time, but I agree with you. I think Hammerstone obviously now recently become a free agent, leaving MLW as well. He's going to be hot property. The fact he's on this show alone, I think, speaks volumes that they managed to get him on here. Josh Alexander as well for a big time match to do as well, so I'm excited to see what's going to go down with it. We'll see if they end up being long term. Answer is, do I want? Yes. Do I think? I guess time will tell. But I think if I had to say which one of it is more likely, I think Zaya Brookside is more likely of the two. But hopefully it will be both. I imagine if Hammerstone and Alexander have a banger, which I think they will, there is a chance then that perhaps maybe they will look to just get the deal over the line. We've got one more comment coming, and we'll move on to the next match. Roger actually would like to see us do more TNA in the future, which is good to know. We'd like to know if you want to see more TNA. Everyone do let us know, and if you're watching on today as well, let us know. That's the way that we know to do more content of that sort. Of course, there already is the watch along of Will Ospreay versus Speedball Mike Bailey, the match of the year last year, already on this channel from Monday. But in the meantime, we're going to move on to another match. And we're going to be talking about the Ultimate X, Knockouts Ultimate X. We've got Tasha Steelz, Alisha Edwards, Gisele Shaw, Jody Fret, Zaya Brookside, and Dani Luna all taking part in this. For those that are unaware of the rules of what a Ultimate X is, as I mentioned before, you have an X hanging above the ring. And of course, basically you have like, like steel cage bits attached to the ring post. So you have to sort of climb up to that. Once you get to the top turnbuckle, you're at the perfect height to sort of put your hand on, which is like another turnbuckle rope in the shape of an X. You have to go along that way to get to the center of the ring to take the X off of the middle. It sounds complicated. It's quite simple when you watch it.
It's kind of like their version of a Money in the Bank, but you have to literally you have to climb along a rope for it.
It's pretty much along that line, but it's great fun. It's usually a really good match, and obviously the ladies have done it once before. The last time they did it, Tasha Steelz was the victor. She would go on to become the Knockouts champion as well. So it shows that if there is something like that stipulation on the line here, there could be a lot out of this for the winner of this match. Perhaps could be a future #1 contender, could be a future Knockouts champion in the company in 2024. Of this lineup here, what do you reckon? Who stands out to you?
This is probably my hardest one for me because of the 6 ladies that are in it. I only really know of 4, which is obviously Tasha Steelz and Zaya Brookside. I'm not particularly familiar with the other 4. I love the idea of the Ultimate X. I think it's such an exciting matchup, and the fact that the ladies are doing it now is just obviously is amazing. That's the hardest part for me. Is like I don't have any sort of momentum or build for the 4 ladies that I don't know, so it's hard for me to really try and say with this one who I think is like the best shout. I mean, as a prediction, I'm going to say Tasha Steelz, just because, like you said, previous winner of the X Division, she is an amazing little character as well. Like when she was Knockouts champion, she had a great run and she had some great storylines. So for me, I'm going to play it safe and go with the previous winner to do it again.
Hey, it could be the case as well. Has the experience, knows what to do. Everybody else that's in there. I mean, Alisha Edwards, I believe, was in the match last time, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe Gisele Shaw might have been as well, if my memory does serve me correctly. But the other 3 ladies were not in this match the last time that they did it. But Gisele Shaw, for me, is someone that deserves to get towards that top end now of the Knockouts division. She's been paying her dues pretty well in the last 12 months. She's had some great rivalries with the likes of Trinity and with the likes of Deonna Purrazzo. So I think, it feels like almost the right time for Gisele Shaw to get to that next level. Alisha Edwards, I mean, she's, bless her, she's been a part of this roster for a long time. She's a steady hand. You know what you're getting with Alisha Edwards, but I don't see her picking up the victory here. Zaya Brookside is interesting for me. I do feel that when you look at Zaya Brookside, big fan of her NXT UK, wanted to see a breakout, didn't quite happen. Will it happen now? She comes to TNA. That's certainly a question mark and something I'd like to see happen. Dani Luna has signed to the company, obviously a part of the Subculture trio. Hopefully that means Mark Edwards and Flash Morgan Webster are on the way full-time as well. I haven't seen that. If they have, let me know in the comments below now. But the name that I've not mentioned is Jody Fret, who's someone I think TNA have been starting to gradually push. They've started gradually doing it over recent times. And I do feel to myself, she could be an outside bet. She's not going to be my prediction, but she's someone that I think will be a Knockouts champion in 2024. She's someone that I'm still getting familiarized with. I've not seen much of her work. She's been on the indie scene in Canada. Obviously, she's come into Impact Wrestling and now into TNA. She's, like I said, a slow, steady push. This could be her moment to break out. But like you said, you've gone with a safe bet. I'm doing the same as well, but I'm going for Gisele Shaw purely because she's been on the brink of getting towards that top end of the card. And I do feel to myself, and we'll go into this when we talk about our matches later, I think Gisele Shaw could be a wise choice to do if they want to have some high-profile matches going early doors into the TNA Knockouts division. But they can't go wrong with Tasha Steelz either. But anything you'd like to add, NXT, before we go into the comments?
No, go for it, man.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's go straight into it then. Interesting enough here. Leo has got a very interesting prediction here, which I'm going to call up for us now, just as soon as I can get there quick enough. He does say, I feel like that there won't be a winner with the current lineup because we're getting a surprise entrant and they will end up winning. Now, what's interesting with this is that the last time we had Ultimate X for the guys, we did get a surprise entrant in there, and I believe it was Jake something that came back to TNA or Impact Wrestling at that point. That's going to get confusing in this video. But at the same time, I don't think he did win that match, but certainly would be good if they do something like, because it's a way you can enter someone else into the match where it's not harming anybody. And Scott D'Amore has promised surprises. So Leo, you could be onto something. And I do remember in the video he did suggest it would be potentially a Dana Brooke. Zane says, who do you think will come in to replace Deonna Purrazzo? I would like to see Brickhouse Camille from NWA, a perfect replacement. Who do you reckon? I mean, we can look with the current TNA roster. It doesn't have to be someone signing from outside, but do you reckon they will get a high-profile name that could replace a Deonna Purrazzo in that division?
Give me 2 seconds. I mean, I was looking at a list I had up earlier, and it was like a current list of free agents, and it's kind of like there's some names in there, but I don't know if any of them are kind of like big enough to. Deonna Purrazzo is obviously a big name to replace, and I'm trying to think: is there any of them that are kind of bigger than what Deonna Purrazzo was? I mean, look, what you're looking at. There's certain names on here I'm not even going to bother mentioning because like they've got a history and or shouldn't be mentioned. But like the ones I'm seeing, I don't know, man. Like there's just, I mean, what, Mandy Rose maybe?
I'll tell you what, she has been pictured on. I've got this for later in the video, so this is where we'll talk about more. This is probably in depth. It's a question that's come quite early, really, for it. But I'll put it up on the screen so we get an idea of a few people have got in mind. Obviously, you see there a few names. Mandy Rose is one of them there. Dana Brooke is another one. I mean, I don't think Mercedes Moné is going to join, but until she turns up somewhere, she's a possibility of turning up here. There's a possibility. I don't think it will happen, but it could happen. The Bunny is another one that could be interesting to come in because I think she's someone that could come back to TNA. She's had history there previously. She was one of those that's famously killed off as well. So, I mean, like Eric Young killed off, have to find a way to bring them back. I do have a fantasy booking idea, but I'll save that for later in the video because we've got to keep something for that hook later on. Yeah, when it comes to Camille, I'll quickly answer about Camille. I think she's NXT bound. I don't think she'll be coming in. I would say Gisele Shaw is probably going to raise the stakes and go higher profile in that division.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like I said, it's for me, it's yeah, like I said, I'm just not too familiar with the Knockouts division. I'm not too familiar with a load of the free agents. Like there's names there that I'm probably looking at, and they're probably massive stars. I just don't know who they are, just because they're either spent a lot of time in New Japan or Stardom, and it's kind of like it's trying to sit there and just justify. Like I can't sit there and say a name if I haven't really seen them wrestle. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, indeed. But something I know you can answer. What are your thoughts on the TNA World Title?
Superb. It is beautiful, man. Like I've literally, you and me have been sharing all week the videos of the new titles, and yeah, just gorgeous, man. Like it's I like the way it's not even like it's like a random shape. Do you know what I mean? Like it's got pointy bits on it, and like it just stands out from every other world title that's out there.
It's incredible. Like every title design have knocked it out of the park so far. TNA, every time they've been releasing one daily. I know you've actually been sending them to me over on social media. I'm like, right, okay, I've got to see this, and it's like they're just perfect every single time. And I'm interested what the other titles are going to look like. We've still got 2 more, I believe, to be released: the Knockouts tag team titles and the Knockouts title as well. I'm fascinated to see. But the TNA World titles so far, maybe the creme de la creme of all of them, done a fantastic job, in particular with that championship. In fact, I think TNA deserve an applause for what they've done with their jobs so far when it comes to those titles. Any excuse. Yeah. We've got Pierre here, says the TNA whatever championship is beautiful. When are they going to reveal the Knockouts championship? I believe Friday is the day the Knockouts championship will be released. I think
When's
tomorrow.
The show, Saturday night?
Show Saturday night. So yeah, I believe tomorrow is the Knockouts tag team titles. Yeah, so we've got 2 more days to go. C Nation says, so crazy. Talents like Sami Callihan and Deonna Purrazzo exactly before TNA started. My question, why? I guess contracts have run out and perhaps maybe they felt it was time to move on. Maybe it was TNA's side. Maybe it's the talent side. it's a bit of everything. I think. Yeah, I think when you look at Deanna Prazo, she certainly has been she'd carried that knockouts division for about 4 years, and I think she wanted to do something new. Obviously, a chance then to go to All Elite Wrestling. Apparently, rumors suggest was her first choice, and this is exactly what she got. A hometown welcome as well. Sami Callihan has gone to MLW. Interesting. I mean, I'm surprised he did leave it, TNA. To be brutally honest, I thought he was going to be there for the rest of his career.
Yeah, Sammy's the biggest shock for me. Like with Deanna, I can possibly understand like AEW's. It's a bigger company, it has a wider reach. If you want to make a bigger name for yourself, it's just a shame that AEW division, women's division, is just, I don't know. It's just all up and everywhere at the minute. But yeah, Sammy going to MLW seems a bit of a weird one. I don't know unless there's something else, maybe a more of a backstage role with that one. I don't know, but yeah, I'm shocked, man, because Sami Callihan's been doing bits for years in Impact, and it's going to be a shame to see him go, really, because like I said, he was just one of them guys that was just always there. He was there every week.
He was there every week, and it's a surprise to see that he did choose to go. But hey, we have to wish him all the best with his future. Obviously, MLW is that landing spot right now. But yeah, and see, Shingo said pretty soon Eddie Edwards will be in TNA for a decade. During this year, I believe he hits that milestone. And Roger says reports saying Triple H is high on Camille, but he reckons that Camille will end up in catering. I think NXT Women's Champion. That's what I think she'll be in this calendar year. Actually, I'm going to print it as far as Roger also asked, do we think that any of the WWE released talent will show up at Hard to Kill? Yes, but I'm not going to say which yet.
Possibly. Like I said, there's a plethora of names, so it's a question for later on when we talk about it.
No, absolutely not. And CDD says this may be unpopular wrestling opinion, but Impact Wrestling titles weren't as bad as people said they were. I didn't think they were bad. I just think these championships are an improvement. That's pretty much what I was saying.
My only issue was the big Impact word. Like, I know it's their logo, but like if you look at that TNA logo, it's so visually appealing to look at, and that Impact one was kind of just like, here you go, 45-degree angle Impact. It was nothing really special about it, whereas I think the TNA one's a lot more special.
I do agree with that. C Nation says, do we see Josh Alexander ever holding the TNA World Championship? I do. He deserves a proper ending to his world title run. First moves cashing on him, and then second, he got injured. That is true. Of course, Josh Alexander was the longest reigning ever Impact World Champion. Perhaps cast TNA in that bracket now as well. But I do think he'll get another run as TNA World Champion. I just think they will take the time to build him to that position.
Yeah, obviously it's that's always the problem when, like, for instance, especially with the second time when he got injured, it's kind of like unfortunately you could, but I think it's more intriguing to watch someone start from the bottom to get to the top again. I think there's more of it gives the fans more of a chance to be invested in the story rather than him just coming back and being like, I want my title, and then he wins it.
I mean, he's had to do it the hard way. He went for the title, he lost, and then obviously now he's had dream matches since now. He's had Will Ospreay. He's got Will Ospreay again at Snake Eyes, which is going to be awesome. I think he'll get his win back there as well. And obviously he's got Alexander Hammerstone here on this show. So there's plenty of things that they've got Josh doing in the meantime, which is pretty exciting. So I think his time will come, but what they do with him in the meantime, I'm actually pretty hyped for. But we'll move on in the meantime because we've got a few more matches to talk about, and obviously we've got some more speculation to talk about. But one thing for sure that I know NXSteve wants to talk about is some tag team wrestling. So without further ado, it is the TNA World Tag Team Championship on the line. The champions ABC going against the Rascalz, the Grizzled Young Vets, and of course we've got Speedball Mike Bailey and Trent Seven. Three standard tag teams there in TNA, but obviously the last one really a bit of a wild card when you look at it with Mike Bailey and Trent Seven. How do you think they're going to fare as a tag team? I'm actually quite fascinated about that combination. I'm not sure if I feel confident they will do well, or if they're going to break up, or if it's just for the night. I'm not sure what we're going to get with that.
My thing was with Trent was I was expecting him to come in and be almost like a main event guy. So to see him in a tag team position is kind of strange. But then again, hey, The Rock's been a tag team champion with Mankind when he was at the top of the card. So never say never. But yeah, like this. Well, we obviously just watched Mike Bailey versus Ospreay the other day, and Mike Bailey is one crazy guy, and Trent Seven is that old British style wrestling. So I like the idea that it's two different styles, and obviously it's that long overdrawn ploy of can they coexist together as a tag team with no chemistry. So that's always the fun one that they do on every show in every wrestling promotion ever. But as for the other three, dude, you can't ask for. I tell you what, you can't ask for three better tag teams to throw in there and just have a fatal four-way. Like Ace Austin and Chris Bay, I know they're obviously part of Bullet Club, and it's kind of like Bullet Club is a bit. It almost feels not. It's almost like it's been washed down, really, like because it's not just Bullet Club anymore. There's now like 4 or 5 different iterations of Bullet Club, depending on where you are in the world or something. So their characters are a bit stale for me at the minute. But as a tag team, like I said, wrestlers, super exciting to watch. The Rascalz, Trey, Miguel, and Zachery Wentz, man. I was gutted when Zachery Wentz got released from WWE because I used to love MSK. I thought they were a great tag team, their chemistry together. But obviously, Zachery and Wesley were originally in the Rascalz anyway. So putting them two back together, smartest decision. They're a great tag team, and obviously my boys, the GYV, man. These guys. Just give Zack Gibson a mic for 20 minutes, and I could easily just listen to him waffle because he is amazing.
Yeah, he really is.
And plus, they're really old school, like dirty tag team, proper heel tag team tactics, and you love to see it.
You do indeed. Obviously, this is a really exciting proposition with the Grizzled Young Vets coming in here because obviously they left NXT, they left WWE, they've now gone onto the indie circuit, and obviously they've made a real big splash as well. Everyone that's talking about them with where they're going, what they're doing, everyone seems to be behind them when they go to these shows as well. It's interesting to see what reception they're going to get. And obviously, let's say Zack Gibson with a mic. James Drake's been quite vocal as well, let's be fair as well. True. But at this point, I mean, will they have everyone on their side? Will they be able to turn everybody against them? I'm pretty sure it'll be the latter. But it's going to be a fascinating proposition. Like you say, a great tag team. And obviously, when you got the high-flying style of ABC and the Rascalz, who have been, flip-flopping with those tag team championships anyway in recent times, of course, in Impact time. Of course, ABC last winning them at Bound for Glory. So they've only held the titles since October. We're in January now, and I've seen many chances to defend them. It kind of feels in a way for me, and this is where we go into prediction territory. I have a feeling that ABC may retain here, but this, for me, I kind of want to see the Grizzled Young Vets win here because they're advertised for Snake Eyes, so it's not one and done for them. They're coming back. It's how long they're coming back for. And I just hope that this builds Grizzled Young Vets and ABC as a program moving towards Rebellion. As I say, for Mike Bailey and Trent Seven, I'm not sure what to expect with that. And I've got a funny feeling Trent might turn heel on Bailey if something goes wrong in this match. It might not happen on this night, but I can see that not being a long-term thing.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm going GYV just for the pure fact of what you said, that they're going to be around. They're doing TV tapings. I think you throw the tag team on these guys, you have them defend them until Rebellion, and man, do you know what I mean? It's an instant way to, because imagine they're still free agents, and they're like, this is the one time that you really want a title to sort of go on a tour, and it's like if they're going to go to Japan, they're going to go to UK, they're going to go to Canada, they're going to go wherever, they're going to take them titles everywhere, and essentially it's almost like free advertising for TNA if you give these tag team titles to them. So for me, I'm going with GYV, but I like your idea of Bailey and Trent. Like Trent is like, you're just waiting for this heel turn with him, like this massive heel turn. He becomes just like a top heel guy. Like he's, unfortunately, like I said, I never really got to see much of his character work when he was in NXT UK because he was kind of just like one of Mustache Mountain. So, like I said, I'm really waiting for him to break out now as a character. And like I said, I like the idea of him turning on Bailey, whether it be that this night or it's in the future. But I like the idea of it.
I think it could happen. We'll see if and when. But our chat's blowing up. It's blowing up. First off, Ray's in the house. Ray, thank you for joining us. Hope you keep him well. And of course, he says, I hate Zack Gibson. And he's just because he's a Liverpool fan. I think that's fair.
Liverpool's a lot of people don't know number one.
All I can say is I'm pretty sure Ray would have shoes off when it comes to this match. I'm pretty sure of it. He will not be having it at all there. But we're going to jump back to the top of the comments as well here. CD going back on Steve Maclin saying it's a downgrade that he's on the pre-show, the countdown. We suggested it could be potentially something of getting the old eyes in, the current eyes in, and saying, whoa, the star power on this countdown, things that happen on this show, must order the main show. But I do see the point that CD is putting forward there. PS says, I'm French Canadian. I'm from Quebec. Fantastic. Thank you as well. 2 English guys talking on the podcast, and we've got listeners from Quebec. That's amazing, Pierre. Thank you so much. It says, I can be with our French Canadian hero, Mike Bailey, but I don't feel it's as my choice. So my choice is the Grizzled Young Veteran. So another vote there for the GYV. And PS says that TNA have always has the best roster when it comes to men's tag team division. They have always had a strong tag team division. Obviously, you look at the classic days of TNA with obviously the Motor City Machine Guns, Beer Money, America's Most Wanted. Obviously, has been in there as well. They've had Team 3D. It's been a plethora of great tag teams.
It's one of the few companies, if probably the only company, that's had a consistently strong tag team division from day one, really. Like, I can sit there and name off god-awful tag teams that were part of WWE and even in AEW. Like, there's just teams for the sake of being teams in AEW, and it's like, whereas with TNA, they've always had solid stories or solid, like, built tag teams, and that's why I just say tag team wrestling is my thing, man. So I'm really excited for this match.
It should be. It could be a show stealer, this one. I've got a funny feeling it's going to be one of the two matches we'll be talking about most coming out of this show. CD says Mike Bailey just was in the tag team with Jonathan Gresham. Now he's with Trent Seven. Lol. Yeah, I mean, that's a bit weird, the fact that just flip-flopping a couple of tag team partners here. Maybe it's something with Gresham. Maybe he's not fully fit to go on this show. Maybe it's just the fact they need to find a way to get Trent Seven on the card. Maybe it's going to end up, like we say, Bailey goes back to Gresham, and maybe Trent Seven is the heel rival. I don't know how it's going to play out, but it's going to be interesting nonetheless. Reigns brought up a good point.
So this is the problem with the whole no build to a show, really.
Little bit, yeah, a little bit of the problem with no build, but hopefully it still will work out well on the night. But Reigns very disappointed that Top Dollar will be hard to kill. He's no interest in him like he did in WWE. Obviously, he's going to be performing a song. I believe he's got someone with him performing a song. I think that's mainly the reason that he's going to be there. I'm expecting it to be one and done. I don't expect it to be long term, but yeah, I mean, you won't have Michael Cole bashing him. That's one thing for sure we can say positively about Top Dollar being there.
Maybe he will eventually do a dive over the top rope.
You never know. You never know. Maybe go for Ultimate X. Who knows? CD says I've got ABC retaining the TNA tag team titles because Grizzled Young Vets do not have to take the pin. No, I feel the same there when it comes to that. I think perhaps maybe you have the Rascalz, or if Trent turns on Bailey, then one of them can take the pin. I think that seems to be a way you could go about it. But good to see another vote for ABC. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Kicking with Leo says that I got the Grizzled Young Vets winning. I feel like it could be absolutely making a statement winning. It could be a make a statement win, to be fair. I wouldn't be surprised if they were to walk away with those titles. CD says, why does TNA love a fatal 4-way tag team title match? I guess to get everybody on the show. That's pretty much the gist with this one, isn't it? I think to get as many people on the card as possible. I think they've done the same. That's why they've done the Women's Ultimate X, just to get as many names on that show as possible.
Absolutely, and it's like, yeah, obviously being the first TNA show, you want as many stars on the show as possible. But dude, when you've got so many good tag teams, it's hard to keep them. I mean, I whenever WWE is a tag team title match, I'm crying out for triple threats and fatal 4-ways because they've got so many good tag teams, and it's just like we never see enough of them. Like, we see really good like tag team matches with it's just 2-on-2, but tell you what, every once in a while, just throw a triple threat or a fatal 4-way out there because you've got so many good teams, and like it's just a shame, man.
Does not have to be a WrestleMania showcase each and every time. CD with a fun comment here says, what's this TNA UK? We got Trent Seven, Grizzled Young Vet, Subculture on the same show again. Absolutely. Zaya Brookside added to the list as well then. Who knows? There could be 1 or 2 more UK talent showing up. We're not going to complain, are we? We're loving the idea of the UK talent getting that exposure. And Will Ospreay was very happy about it as well. So a bit of clip of his interview with Denise Salcedo. Very happy to see that the UK scene is thriving and many of them will be a part of TNA. Of course, Subculture went on tour defending the TNA tag team titles too. They did, of course, back in I believe it was the last UK tour, if I'm not mistaken. They were doing that, or maybe not the UK tour, maybe just before that. Maybe they were doing that. It says I'm okay with single guys being a tag team as long as they get built up. I think that's fair. Roger Sims definitely also hates Zack Gibson. He'll definitely have his shoes off. It's good to hear. I'll have my shoes off because my feet will be up on the cushions. That's what I'll be doing. I'll be getting comfy on the sofa. That's what I'll be doing. But Sinishan says, since TNA was so lazy in the build-up, I will be lazy in my predictions video and don't do it. Fair enough. But I'm glad you're with us anyway, CD. We've gone all out for this one, but we're glad that you're here with us. East Austin and Chris Bay work so well as a tag team. It's a blessing in disguise that they joined the Bullet Club. I have to agree. I expect them to be top single stars by this point in TNA, but they're doing a fantastic job as a tag team. I won't argue with that. NXT, should we move on to the next match, which hopefully people will stick around for? I'm going to say before we do this match, people don't leave us. We're going to make this very brief. Very, very brief. It's PCO versus Dirty Dango, ladies and gentlemen. Dirty Dango will have Alpha Bravo and Oleg praying. I can't even say. It's the former Vladimir
Trudy is?
Kozlov, of course. Remember Vladimir
Trudy?
Kozlov?
Yeah, I
Yes,
remember
that's
Vladimir
something like
Kozlov,
that.
yeah.
Something like that. So to keep this short and sweet, because I've got not much to say about it, PCO was the first person to re-sign with TNA, and I think he's picking up the win here. That's pretty much what I've got to say. I'm not sure why this match is not on the countdown. My reasoning for it is I think it could be because something is going to happen to make this seem bigger.
But then for that reason, I'm going to go with Dango. I mean, as much as I love like zombies and stuff, I just like I don't get PCO's character in a minute. But yeah, I mean, I'm just going to go with Dango. Like, just for the sake of being different. Like, again, with no build, it's kind of, do you know what? So I'm just going to be awkward and go different and go against you.
NXT's going dirty with the Dango. There we go. It's yeah. I don't blame you on that one. PS says so my choice. I'm going to say the French Canadian hero PCO will win. He's not human after all, and I think he'll find a way to overcome the odds when it comes to it. CD with another comment in before we move on at this point, and CD does make the point that Rich Swann and Maclin should be on the main show, and PCO and Dirty Dango should have been on the pre-show. Ray, I think maybe slightly on delay, says I'll definitely have my shoes off and disrespect Zack Gibson. Seems to be a lot of shoes off in the comments below. CD says PCO wins this. TNA had him beat Eddie Edwards. It does seem like it should be a foregone conclusion. I did promise you, thank you all for sticking around. You didn't leave. I'm thankful for that. We'll go on to our next match in the meantime. Of course, it's one of the headline ones now. The Knockouts World. Exactly.
I was going to say, I think that's the quickest time we've ever reviewed a prediction before.
I think it is as well. We've never done it that quickly before, but we'll call this one up again so people can see it. Trinity versus Jordynne Grace, the Knockouts World Championship. I've got a feeling we'll take longer predicting this match. For those that are just joining us at this point, we've got the two main matches, and then we've got all the speculation of who will be coming into the company. So you are joining us at the right time. Make sure to hit the like button, share with a friend, and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new here. So basically, just a bit of the backstory, because there's a tiny little bit of backstory when it comes to this one. Jordynne Grace, she won the Call Your Shot Gauntlet. I got this wrong earlier on. Moose won Feast of Fire and got his World Heavyweight title shot through the briefcase. Jordynne Grace was the first ever female to win the Call Your Shot Gauntlet, and she called herself at Bound for Glory to get this championship opportunity at Hard to Kill. Of course, Trinity has been the champion for, I believe, since the anniversary she's held that championship. So we're talking around June, July time now she's held that title. She's beaten the likes of Deonna Purrazzo 3 times. She's gone through a plethora of knockouts, but she's not gone through Jordynne Grace. And the speculation we've already spoke about. Go on.
I was going to say she won it at Slammiversary against Deonna Purrazzo.
There we are. There we are. I wasn't wrong. That was good. It was good. I've got one wrong on this stream. I don't want to get a second one wrong. But Trinity, we've spoken about the rumors. Fightful Selective reported it, obviously, that she could be leaving very soon after Hard to Kill. Obviously, she is advertised for the next set of what's going on with TNA. I think Snake Eyes, and I don't know if that includes tapings as well. But one thing's for sure, Trinity is not going just yet, but perhaps she could be away in time for that event known as the Royal Rumble. And of course, Naomi is well known for those crazy spots, as Pierre mentioned earlier on in the comments below. If there is truth to that, you would have a feeling that unless there is, which has also been speculated in the stream, the idea of a WWE TNA partnership, you would suspect that there would be a new Knockouts champion on the horizon here, that Jordynne Grace would be taking this home.
Yeah, you would think that. I mean, the dirt sheets alone kind of sort of set the precedent for your prediction on this one. Like, you have to say Jordynne Grace. She's the one that's staying. Like, this is almost like the last prediction show we did where we made the AEW World's End one, where we made a prediction just on the basis of who was going to be in the company longer, and it's kind of the same with this one, really. You have to go with Jordynne Grace, because obviously until Trinity signs with someone, or like, you just have to go with the person who's going to be there in a year's time, whereas Trinity obviously hasn't signed anything. So yeah,
we're playing it safe, ladies and gents. That's what we're doing, playing it safe. Jordynne Grace, as I said earlier, I predicted, obviously, Gisele Shaw to win the Ultimate X. I don't remember a program with Grace and Gisele Shaw. I think that could be a fun program going into the springtime, perhaps Moment of Rebellion. I like your idea as well of Grace. If it would then be Grace versus Tasha Steelz, that could be awesome as well. So there is some great fresh feuds you could do there with that. So I think it could be a fun time. But it's a shame for Trinity, but I do think, and what I will say very quickly, if she does go after this show, she's been around in this company for about 6-7 months. She's had a great run. She's had a great time. She's held the championship for most of it, but I think that she's established herself, and was one of the top knockouts in her time period. She's had some good matches as well. One of the more popular people in the company, did really well with the receptions on the UK tour. I think she'll live with her head held high. And after being away from wrestling for so long, and I remember she said in an interview as well that she had sort of fell out of love with wrestling a little bit. I think this has definitely rejuvenated her time here in Impact Wrestling and in TNA. And I think it's going to be pretty cool for her to come in as a TNA Knockouts champion into this show. So win, lose, or draw, do wish Trinity all the best moving forward. But as I say there, I think Jordynne Grace has taken the dub. Anything you'd like to say before we go to the comments?
Yeah, no, not just to back off what you said about Trinity. Like I said, I think the idea that the trust and faith was put in her to carry the Knockouts division for this period of time, it really does. Obviously, do you know what I mean? It gives you faith again. And like, if you're someone who's just come off of what happened to her in WWE, you kind of sit there and go, "Why do I bother?" And like someone, and this is what I love about TNA, is they're always willing to give someone an opportunity. This is the company where you're like, man, you could be in WWE for 10 years, never win a title, but you can go into TNA. TNA will make you their top guy because they believe in you. And this was always the good thing about it. And so with Trinity going there, made a top star. If she leaves and goes to WWE, hey, let's be honest, it's just an excuse for WWE to pay her more money because she's got credibility going back to the company now.
Absolutely, indeed, there, and I think we both think that's going to happen, don't we? We do think Trinity's going there. But Jordynne Grace is our prediction. We've got a few comments that have come flying in, so let's see what everybody has got to say. Obviously, Leo sticking with that prediction. I think we could get a cash in from whoever wins the Ultimate X match. It's something to keep your eyes open on when it comes to this one. CD says Jordynne Grace is winning the TNA Knockouts Championship here, as I think Trinity's going back to WWE. So sharing our thoughts as well. And CD is going to say their matches on the show that make sense of the world title, knockouts title matches, obviously with the Feast of Fire and with the Call Your Shot. Obviously, those ones were called as far back as Bound for Glory. PS says, big question about this match. If Trinity wins, would Trinity show up at the Royal Rumble with the Knockouts Championship? Will it be WWE show again, just like 2 years ago in 2022? I see making reference to Mickie James. Mickie James obviously turned up in the Royal Rumble, had hardcore country screaming out, was the Impact Women's Champion, not Knockouts Champion, sadly, at that point. But yeah, it could be a possibility. We wouldn't rule it out. But at the same time, we have a feeling that we think Grace is going to win the title.
Yeah, I mean, my only issue with the idea, like, I love the sound of it, but for me, it's the name. Like WWE, if they're going to bring Trinity back, she's going to come back as Naomi. They're not going to bring her in as Trinity, and it's almost like it's a continuity thing. So, as much as I'd love to see it, she turns up in WWE. She turns up at the Rumble, comes out as Naomi, and then goes back to TNA as Trinity. It doesn't make sense for me. That's the only thing.
Absolutely, indeed. There, I agree, and I think the name thing mentioned it makes perfect sense. Edward James, thank you for checking that stream. Hope you're doing well. Says Jordynne Grace is a history maker, and she's going to make more history. Makes more sense to me. I don't back against that at all. Leo says I think Trinity should retain because she's been undefeated since joining TNA. But like I said, whoever wins Ultimate X cashes in, makes it a triple threat match, and they'll pin Jordynne. Fair enough, Leo. And he's sticking with the guns with that prediction. I like it because if it comes through, he's going to feel very good about it, and so we will as well. CD says, I want a WWE and TNA partnership, but how would this benefit WWE? So I don't think it will happen. Mickie James only came into the 2022 Royal Rumble because they needed bodies for the match. CD, you do make a fantastic point. If it doesn't benefit WWE, it's not going to happen. It will definitely benefit TNA.
Yeah, like I said, for me, I think it's more just a case of their TNA. If they're going to use NXT, it's just an opportunity for some of the guys because they have a stacked NXT roster. They have so many. Like, they're currently doing the breakout. They've just done the breakout tournaments. Now they're doing the Dusty Classic, and it's like I honestly don't know half of the women in the women's breakout tournament. I do know like 6 or 7 of the guys in the men's breakout tournament. So, like I said, for me, I think it's an NXT thing, and you'll just get some of the guys in NXT going over there just to establish themselves, get used to doing mic work, working with a hard cam, like being on a product, like even doing things like winning championships and stuff, and just giving them a decent, like, just getting used to it all. Because that's the most important thing with these guys. And with NXT only being 2 hours long, you obviously they can't get everyone on. So if they can spare, it's like the same with if you're in a football club, you send players out on loan because they can't get game time. It's exactly the same thing. They're just going to loan the guys and girls out to TNA, hopefully, and just say gives them more ring time, more experience, gives them an opportunity just to work on themselves.
Absolutely, yeah. Getting seasoned is pretty much what we're saying there, and I do agree with that. I think you make some great points among that there. Apparently, they have done Jordan Grace versus Gisele Shaw in an episode of Impact, but it wasn't a feud, so there's an excuse then to go back, in my opinion, if you ask me. CD also says EC3 is a good example. Fan in WWE, literally the top guy for a few years in TNA. Very true. And CD does say that Obafemi has been pushed very, very fast. We're keeping things TNA today, but I appreciate you mentioning that, going off topic. But yeah, he's North American champion. I think he's going to be a big deal in NXT and WWE. Let's move on then, shall we? In the meantime, towards that main event. Of course, it's going to be for the TNA World Championship. Alex Shelley going against Moose. Of course, Moose winning a briefcase, a Feast of Fire at the 1000th episode of TNA / Impact, whatever you want to call it at that point. And of course, Moose did say he would cash in the opportunity for this show. And of course, Alex Shelley, look, here we go. We're back once again. TNA Original coming to the show. And when they first did Bound for Glory, and they were doing Alex Shelley versus Josh Alexander, the rematch, and Alex Shelley won for about 5 minutes until they announced that TNA was coming back. I was like, that's a strange decision. I didn't see the benefit at the time of Alex Shelley retaining, but then as soon as the video package hit that TNA was coming back, the penny dropped. It was almost like the Rainmaker was coming out, and I felt to myself like, this makes perfect sense, because the first TNA show back, you've got a number of people like we've seen already on this stream that are part of the TNA originals, that are part of this roster. Chris Sabin, Eric Young, Frankie Kazarian, they were there before. Eddie Edwards was part of the previous part of TNA as well, even if it was part of the latter. But Alex Shelley going as your world champion, that represents the classic of TNA. It's the heartbeat of TNA with its championship going into this main event match. And Moose has been arguably Mr. Impact Wrestling, but there is something that hasn't really been brought to light, to my knowledge, on the build. Someone tell me if I'm wrong here, because there's been a lot of special episodes been done with TNA recently, so I've not really seen a lot of development with this. But Moose, in the pandemic, did bring back the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. It was the nostalgia pop at that point. He was using it as a championship, classing himself as the Real World Champion. I think this was also around the time that Kenny Omega was running around with the Impact title as well from AEW. I think it was around that period. So Moose is not really a stranger to this either, even though it's technically a different way. But it's kind of like Mr. TNA versus Mr. Impact. But Moose could potentially be Mr. TNA moving forward, rather than Alex Shelley, who's obviously been in the company since, I believe, 2003. What's your thoughts of Alex Shelley versus Moose?
Like you said, it's an interesting one. I mean, I was just having a quick look at Alex Shelley's run as champion, and you throw some of the names out that he's fought against and defended this title. So obviously, he defended against, he's faced Stephen Maclin, he's faced Nick Aldis, he's faced Hiroshi Tanahashi, he's faced Josh Alexander, he's faced Jonathan Gresham. He's been on a stellar run as Impact champion. And I was like, it's so hard to tell, because you're like, if you want this guy to be a top guy, my head is telling me that he should be beating Moose. But like you said, Moose was the guy to bring back the TNA title. It's almost like he has a point to prove, and to be like this guy never officially won the TNA title. He just brought it back. So Moose kind of has the idea that I'm going to win this TNA title, and it makes it like, for a show with no build, this kind of actually has the most build about it of any match on the show, and I kind of like it. It does completely throw my head up about who's going to win the match, but because, like I said, honestly, I'm waiting for you to give me a defining moment there, because this is the point where I listen to you to talk for a couple of minutes, and something you'll say will make me go, nope, that's who I'm going to pick. Because like I said, at the minute, if you look at it, Shelley's had a great run as champion, almost like this is the point where it'd be okay for him to drop a title, but it's TNA. It's their first pay-per-view. You want your top guy to look strong, so he should be winning. But then, like you said, Moose obviously brought back the TNA title. He has a point to prove. It's really interesting, this one. And aside from the women's one, this is the hardest match to call.
It's a harder one to pick, this one. I'm going to make my prediction. I'm going to try and sum it up in less than 2 minutes for everybody. Alex Shelley is the guy coming in TNA Original. But how long do you want to rely on TNA Originals in the new TNA? That's the question. How long does Shelley carry the baton and run with it through. It's a relay after all, and eventually it's going to be someone else's turn to run with it. Does it happen on night one, or does it happen somewhere further down the line? Moose has re-signed with TNA Impact. He did it before. It was popular to throw all the signings on the graphics and stuff like that. He did it partway through last year. And through the look of things, I can see personally Moose holding the TNA World Championship again. Will he hold it long term or for like 6 months or 9 months? That I'm not sure about. But I can see Moose holding that championship. And I think it's a good excuse for a heel to hold that championship and for a surprise to be revealed. Something to immediately go, that's happening at Rebellion.
That's exactly what I was just thinking. The way you said it, that's what I'm saying. This is why I like this. This is why I like talking to you, because you just make certain things clearer. And obviously, with it being their first show, you have to take into consideration the big name that they're bringing in. Makes total sense that Moose wins this, because now, there's already a program set in place for the next, I don't know, 3 months, however long they're going to do it for, and someone's going to chase Moose for that title. And like you said, Shelley's an original. Moose is he's already re-signed. It just kind of makes sense, really, that Moose should be winning this.
I think so. That's going to be the prediction we're going to go with, and obviously could be wrong. Shelley could hold it for another 3 or 4 months. It wouldn't surprise me. Shelley's had a great run, like you said. There's some great defenses, but let's see how it's going to go down.
Who's to say they're not going to bring in a heel?
They might. It could. Anything can happen. Anything can happen, and that's what's exciting about this. And we're going to get to that. So for those who are here with us now, we're going to do the comments, and then we're going to go into who we think is coming in. That's going to be a fun topic to stick around for. We're going to want your thoughts on it as well, on all the names that you think are coming into this company. CD says, Moose is winning the TNA World title here. I do not see Shelley breaking Josh Alexander's TNA World title record. I think that Shelley would have quite a few months still to go. I think it was over a year of the run, but I agree with CD there. Josh Alexander's run should not be broken anytime soon. CD says as well that Alex Shelley beating Josh Alexander Bound for Glory made sense to me, because why would they do Alexander versus Moose for the 5th time? That's a fantastic point as well. Obviously, that was made earlier, clear in the evening as well. But obviously, when I do a prediction video, I usually do them quite early. So that's why for me, I stick with it once it's gone out. I don't turn my back on it, but sometimes you can see it on the shows. But at the same time, do make a good point. And if Moose does win the title, Alexander might have to do a few more dream matches at this point. Another CD comment says the guy who beat Alexander for the title should be Steve Maclin. Well, it may have been, but maybe it would not have been. Well, we'll never know at this point. Kicking it with Leo says Alex Shelley retains and sets up a debut like Nick Nemeth or Mustafa Ali, maybe even John Moxley, because his contract could be up this month. Where have you seen that, Leo? I believe he's signed a multi-year deal. Let me know where you've seen that source, please. Remember, there's an opt-out clause in his contract. Okay, that's what he... Read the comments, Steve. It's there in front of you. But interesting if that's the case. Okay, fair enough. To be fair, it does make sense for someone to debut afterwards.
It says here, as of the whatever date this is either from October or from December. It says John Moxley has signed a new 5-year contract. The deal will keep Moxley in AEW till 2027, apparently.
Interesting. Well, if worlds collide, where they could come in and do a one-off appearance, it could work. But maybe that would be the only way. But Eric Douglas says he can't wait for our Royal Rumble predictions. I can announce, Eric, for you now, and everyone else that's watching. We'll be doing those on January the 23rd, giving a full predictions. But there will be a special video coming out with lots of predictions, 30 YouTube channels in one video giving predictions for the Rumble. Keep an eye out for that. That'll be dropping in the next 7 days. I can guarantee that video is coming out. All 30 videos are in. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we've wrapped up the matches when it comes to TNA, Hard to Kill. But what we've not discussed, Worlds will collide on January 13th. You won't believe who is showing up. NXSteve. It's a big question. We can speculate for a little while the comments come in who they think is showing up. But do you have any ideas who could be showing up? As I said before, I put this graphic up. Not that graphic. I put this graphic up. Who will sign with TNA Wrestling? And of course, you can see a Mercedes Moné is in amongst that lineup. Obviously, Tama Tonga's in that lineup, Nick Nemeth, Mustafa Ali. Andrade's not anywhere yet. Just to say, by the way, they would deem that. Scott D'Amore has said that this is one of the biggest signings TNA has ever made. Now, can we just go through some of the names that have been on the TNA roster? And this is what they have to compete with by putting this hype out there. They've had Kurt Angle on that roster. They've had Sting on that roster. They've had Jeff Hardy, Rob Van Dam, Mr. Anderson. They've had some talented people on that roster, and they're deeming that this is up there. Obviously, when you look with the female, the knockouts division, we shouldn't rule that out either. The likes of Gail Kim has been amazing over the time period that she's been in that company. Awesome Kong. Obviously, we mentioned Deonna Purrazzo as well. NXSteve, I have to ask at an early stage, why is your head in your hands?
I've just seen a name that really makes me think it's someone in particular. I've just seen it and gone, oh my God. Oh no. See, my logic was right. Okay, they're saying that this is going to be TNA's biggest signing yet. And I was like, my idea was like, they don't define what biggest means. It could just be the heaviest dude they've ever signed in wrestling. Do you know what I mean? So it could be like a 500-600 pound guy. Hey, they're not technically lying. Will be their biggest sign ever. Steve, for all those wonderful names that you said, I've just seen another one, and it kind of makes me sad and maybe a bit worried now.
Who could it be?
Someone suggested Goldberg.
Oh dear Lord,
dude! Would it not make sense if it was Goldberg?
The thing is, it would actually make a lot of sense. I didn't think about Goldberg whatsoever, but if Goldberg came in, and I'm sorry to the comments, don't hit the dislike button, but we've just got to entertain it now. It's been brought up. Goldberg wants a retirement. If he comes in, has a retirement match, a retirement tour, has one or two big matches, it's going to get people talking. Wesley, I really hope it's not Ryback. That's definitely one of these. Definitely getting one of them.
He retired, man. He said if Punk returned to WWE, he was retiring. So he's retired. He ain't coming back.
I hope so anyway. But hey, CD says Nick Nemeth is the one for him. Makes the most sense. So he turned up as well. Obviously in New Japan this past week, Wrestle Kingdom. He was a part of that. Obviously going as well for the new Global Championship. Obviously with David Finlay. So he seems to be a free agent at the moment. He does seem to be going around us doing a tour of Australia at the end of January. So can rule him out of a Royal Rumble appearance as well for a little mini comeback. Maybe he does turn and does some stuff in TNA as well.
It's possible, but like I said, the fact that they're going on about this is TNA's biggest signing ever. There's only two names that are out there that would possibly be classified as TNA's biggest signing ever that you can compete with the likes of Ric Flair, Kurt Angle, Sting, Booker T, whoever else, man.
I'm not saying
one of them, that guy. But one of them is, like I just said, I've just seen is Goldberg, which would be such a massive disappointment, I think, because I think he'll get a pop. He always does, man. Do you know what I mean? It's Goldberg, and like he always gets that pop. The other one, though, is obviously Kazuchika Okada, and that kind of makes sense that he is possibly the biggest free name agent. As much as you'd love to see him go possibly AEW to have some killer matches, I think if you brought him into TNA and put him as a main guy, and I wouldn't be against that, man. I think Kazuchika Okada would be a great shout. But man, God, if it's Goldberg, I think I might have to retract my previous statement about watching TNA more frequently this year.
Scott D'Amore, if you're watching, don't do it. Don't do it. Save Tony Khan to do it for Wembley. But he's going to need something after Revolution. But what I'll say is very quickly, you suggested Okada. Okada obviously is someone that's going to be a free agent. I've got the Royal Rumble surprises video coming up very soon, and he is mentioned in it. I have noticed, though, he is actually advertised for New Japan in February. So even though his contract expires at the end of the month, he's still, I believe, as a champion as well. And I believe that he will be defending I think it's like 6-man tag team titles. I believe they're going to be defended in the February show in Osaka. So I do believe that there's a chance he'll be staying put for now. But He is announced for the Snake Eyes tour, which of course is what follows afterwards. The same show that Will Ospreay will be on against Josh Alexander. Okada will be there as well, teaming with the Motor City Machine Guns. So it's exciting to see how it will play out. I agree with you. I think that those are two of the biggest names they could go for. The other biggest name is Mercedes Moné. Obviously, if she has turned down WWE or there's no agreement there, if something isn't agreed with All Elite Wrestling, it looked like it was at Wembley. Now it's been off, it's been on, it's been off again. It's been like Ross and Rachel for the longest time, really, when it comes to my friends' references. You know, you'll always get one. Yeah, I mean, honestly, rumors and suggestions, she could even turn up by the time Dynamite happens tonight. So if that's the case and she turns up in Jacksonville, that would be pretty old pretty quickly. But she fits the build of what it will be, because TNA did offer 7 figures to Will Ospreay. They did offer 7 figures to CM Punk. Sadly, neither of those happened. Would that be accepted? Because TNA is a place that represents its women's division, its knockouts division, with respect. Multiple matches, weekly basis, headlining, pay-per-views. If you want to define, women's wrestling, the best rosters out there, and you want to really define it as one of the best women's rosters out there, Mercedes Moné coming in there. And people said, what about filling Deonna Purrazzo's shoes? Well, that does that and then some if she comes in.
I would say that Mercedes Moné is actually, like, no disrespect, but she is a bigger star than Deonna Purrazzo anyway. I mean, the only reason why I don't say Moné is just because, like, it almost feels like she's too big for TNA. Whereas, like, a Goldberg and an Okada obviously has the whole language barrier thing. So, aside from AEW, where he'd get over massively with his wrestling, because obviously AEW is, like, obviously very New Japan-based fan base, and it was like he would get over well there. But he could go into TNA and just be a top guy. Goldberg is obviously desperate for this retirement run. And I think if you brought him in, he kind of fits the bill as well for the biggest name. I just think Moné is too big. But then as well, that also leads me to think is, why would Trinity leave if Moné is coming in as well? Because for me, that's a feud in itself to sell the whole division, to have something for people to tune in for, is Trinity versus Mercedes Moné.
That's a pay-per-view main event. That is a main event. It doesn't get bigger. You probably couldn't possibly do a bigger pay-per-view main event for your next show than that if they would have both of those on that talent roster. It makes a lot of sense to do that if they could get her in. It's a big if. I'm going to go to the comments and then we can suggest who this name is going to be, because actually, just before we do, Worlds Collide. We've mentioned this before. You won't believe who's going to show up. And I can't believe when I hear Worlds Collide, it does suggest to me sometimes about someone outsider that signed with another company coming in and, like we said, suggesting this working relationship. It won't be, I don't think it's going to be an AJ Styles or Samoa Joe, even though I think that would be awesome to see them make cameos and to appear on the show, because they're obviously TNA originals and gone on to 2 of the biggest names outside of TNA once they've left. But what about a name like a Sheamus, for example? Someone that's, his contract is up in 2024, from my understanding. I don't remember the last time I've seen him WWE. I know these brawling brutes are no longer a thing. What if something's just not been mentioned?
That's actually a really good shout. Like, do you know what? That's actually an amazing shout. Like, do you know what I mean? He could have asked for his release early. I think he's injured, which is the reason why he was out. So. But then for me, it goes back to the fact that he's never won that Intercontinental title. And I think Sheamus doesn't leave until he wins that IC title. That's the only thing that makes me say it won't be Sheamus. Because for me, man, if I'd won everything in a company apart from that one title, and I'm getting on in my age and I'm getting to the point where I have to start thinking about slowing down and doing less matches, my goal would to be that one title to say, dude's won everything else. He's won King of the Ring, hasn't he?
Yes, he has.
Yeah, he's won the Royal Rumble. Did he win Money in the Bank as well?
No. Yes, he did. Yeah, 2015. Won it in 2015. Cashed in on Roman Reigns at Survivor Series.
The guy he's won the Rumble. He's done everything, man. There's no you'd almost be kicking yourself if you didn't win the one thing that you never won in that company, because it would eat away at you for the rest of your life. Well, it would me. So that's why I would say it's not going to be Sheamus, but it is a really, really good shout.
It's just outside the box. Just trying to think outside the box. So something that I don't think you'd hear many other places. Maybe because it's not going to happen. Maybe that's the case. But hey, we're throwing it out there. We're going to come up with a name in a minute. But let's go into the comments quickly first. Kicking it, imagine it being Drew McIntyre, if he's that annoyed, walking away from WWE. He did it before, and he has been Impact World Champion under the banner for Drew Galloway.
The only thing is he's advertised for the Rumble, which is a couple of weeks later.
And Bash in Berlin, I don't think he's going anywhere. I know there's the rumours that he could end up at All In later this year. I don't see it happening. Kicking it with Leo says, I think that Ashley Sabera shows up. I've been saying it for months, and recently teased the match with Trinity in the Q&A segment. There you go. The teasers is out there. Wesley suggesting Mr. Anderson could come back. Anderson. Wouldn't be against it. Commander Aziz was a big guy. Imagine it was him. Technically, TNA would keep the promise. One of the biggest signings. That would turn some eyes away as well. Very early doors. It's very important they get this right. I think, in my opinion, it's really, if they get it wrong, I think it could turn people off and give the teases early doors. Goldberg defeating Shelley for the world title in 30 seconds is not something that anybody really wants to see, or probably against Moose either. But the battle with the spears could be something there for the battle of the big guys. You've mentioned Goldberg a couple of times now. Now you've had a chance to digest it. You know, when you do a bit of wine tasting, you've had it in there. You've got rid of it. How do you feel with it now? Is it still there for you? Do you have the aftertaste? I think that's gonna linger. He's gonna stick around. It's gonna happen.
It's almost like I wouldn't recommend it for a steady diet. Put it that way.
Just over Christmas.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? It's a kind of it's a nice thing to enjoy once a year, but as a steady diet, no. But yeah, dude, it kind of makes sense, and that's what I'm really worried about. Because I know I'm pretty sure someone said a couple of weeks ago, or whoever it was, that he's been trying to get into AEW to do something in AEW. Man, what? Goldberg seems like the kind of guy that would go to every company and win their world title just to say, I've been there and done that and won every world title. If
Goldberg came in, he would bring eyeballs in. This is the problem. It would our side of the community will not be very pleased. We'll probably crap all over it.
Your average fan.
Some really like Goldberg, and some do tune in. Like when he appeared on Raw and stuff in his latest run, like he would bring the pop of the ratings. They would go up when Goldberg was there.
When he beat Brock in like 20 odd seconds for the world title. When he beat Brock for the title in like a record crazy time, and it was like all everyone was doing for the next like 2 or 3 days was talking about how crazy it was that Goldberg beat Brock in a minute and a half or however long it was. So yeah, he's got the ability to bring eyes in. He's got the ability to be a draw. My biggest worry is that obviously with this being TNA's first show is I don't want it to suck and for people to just trash all over it and just be like, oh, look at these guys, they're a joke. They made this big announcement and they've brought in Goldberg. It has to be, if they're going to bring Goldberg in, my hope is that there's a contingency plan in place and that he's booked properly and it's explosive and it's something that gets where they turn around and sit and go, my God, I can't believe AEW didn't sign Goldberg. Man, I can't believe WWE didn't re-sign Goldberg. That's the biggest thing. That's what they have to do if it's going to be Goldberg.
Squash mid-carders.
He's done that everywhere else, so that's nothing new. It's got to be something.
It's got to be. But the thing is, as I said here, CD says, with Sting, Paul White, they have them undefeated in AEW, never win a world title. Don't put them anywhere near it. That's sort of the way to do it. You just, you treat them as the legend, the attraction. That's what to do if he's going to come in. That's the only way around it. But yeah.
Goldberg as GM. GM for TNA. Hey, why not? Hogan did it, and like I said, you like it's the opportunity then to have Goldberg on a weekly TV show, drawing names, and every once in a while throw him out there and have a match with someone. And let's be honest, TNA is not exactly stacked with like 6'5", 350-pound guys. So even if Goldberg used to have a match with half of these, aside from Moose, maybe these are all guys that he would probably be able to have a fairly decent match with, because he's not. Do you know what I mean? For his age, he's not having to like go up against a Brock Lesnar, who's a former UFC champion, weighs 300 pounds, and like struggles to get him up into a suplex. You know what I mean? He's not wrestling Undertaker, which is essentially two really old guys trying to wrestle, and they're not past their prime, but like, do you know what I mean? They struggle to have a decent match because the bent, like they need someone to work with them, and those two in a match together just does not work because they don't have someone to essentially carry the burden of the match.
Absolutely not. Yeah, I agree with CD. By the way, says Goldberg, Morella, and the more in control that be getting messy. It would be very messy indeed. There, Morella would definitely be eating a spear. Kervin in the house, thank you for joining us. Hope as well. Says who said Tony Khan didn't make a star yesterday? Tony Khan made Jinder Mahal a big star indeed. There, Twitter went into meltdown overnight. Clearly, I woke up this morning wondering what the hell happened.
I'm just gonna say my 2 piece on that. Right, I think the biggest thing is that people really like Hook. And Jinder's not everyone's favorite, and I think that's the big problem. This is why Tony Khan's kicking off about it, is the fact that everyone likes Hook. You're going to put him in a match with Joe. Joe's going to absolutely destroy him. Whereas with Jinder, all right, he's probably liked by some people. I'm one of the few guys that actually didn't mind his run as world champion. I actually enjoyed it. I really liked him, as I thought his character work was great, but he's not loved by the fans. So you can have Jinder in a match against Seth Rollins and take the loss. It's no problem. But I think that's the biggest thing. People don't want to see Hook get destroyed. And I think that's what TK is getting it all up in a bunch about.
We have time will tell on it. It's going to be interesting, but I think you make fabulous points on that there. And obviously, Tony Khan definitely got a little bit wild on Twitter last night. So sometimes it's just best to stay silent. I think that's the best way to do it. But yeah, we'll see how it will play out. It was certainly fun to see social media today. We'll put it that way. Roger says the thing I'm disappointed about is TNA not bringing back the 6-sided ring. Apparently, too many talents get hurt. That's mainly the reason why it didn't come back.
It was the appeal of it. That's why I was crazy for it. But yeah, like you said, apparently too many injuries.
Absolutely. Fun fact: CD going to Raw next week. Hope you have an amazing time. Hope you enjoy Jinder Mahal versus Seth Rollins. You never know. Could be challenging.
Yeah.
Might find a don't hinder the Jinder sign. You know.
Yeah. New Jinder Mahal fan incoming from CD.
Absolutely. Bring a sign. We want to look out for you on Raw. Kicking with Leo says, I get Goldberg would be ratings boost for them, but I'd be turning the TV off. And do you know what, Leo? I wouldn't be turning the TV off, but I would be disappointed. It's not what I want to see. I say
put a little asterisk with that. As long as he's booked right and they do something creative when they bring him in, like, yeah, most people will probably crap all over it. But I think if they do it right and they know what they're doing and they've got a plan, it could actually be really good. And that's the one thing, the more worrying part.
Absolutely. So, right, let's get into it. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Goldberg? Is it going to be someone else? Who's coming in? Who is that signing?
Begrudgingly, I'm going to say Goldberg. I think it's the only one that kind of makes sense. Monet's going to AEW or WWE. Okada, I reckon, will go AEW. I think it's going to be Goldberg. I think he's the only name in a US territory base that is the biggest free agent at the minute.
So,
you're going to surprise me now and say something I haven't even thought about, aren't you?
Well,
this is what you do. You string me along with my idea, and then you pop out with the most obvious answer, and I'm like, damn it.
would I do such a thing? Is that in my nature to do? Yes, I don't know.
Yes,
the thing is, I've pulled up the names here again. Obviously, Mercedes is the one with the biggest name value, the ones I've put there. But like, obviously, I'd love it to be an Andrade and Mustafa Ali. I think those two would be awesome because obviously, from a talent perspective, it would be some of the best wrestlers they've signed. I'm going to be interested to see. The thing is, it's rare that I come onto these ones and it's time to make a prediction and I still don't really know. I don't have a prediction. I don't really know. I'm excited to just be surprised.
The clue is that they said it's the biggest star they've ever signed, not the best wrestler they've ever signed.
Exactly.
Which is why it won't be well, as much as I'd love it to be Mustafa Ali, because I think he's going to do great wherever he goes. That's why I'm going to say Goldberg.
Just because I want to be different, and I do not want it to be Goldberg. The only logical name that makes sense to fit the bill and not disappoint is Mercedes Moné. It's not going to happen. It's my prediction, though, because I want to be different, and I'm struggling to think of who it can be. And yeah, so I'm going with Moné.
Hey, it's not a bad shout. She's a free agent, so she could turn up. Anything can happen.
TNA just have just the right amount of Moné to draw of him. Hold on, where's that again? There we go, sorted. CD says TNA probably will throw a lot of money at Goldberg. They probably will, maybe 7 figures. That could be what could be going there. Could be the way. Leo, we're going to come to, I promise we'll talk about Dana Brooke. It's coming right now. So I know she won't be a big name, but I've got her coming in. Is there a way that you think she should show up on the show? If she does, what capacity will she be in? So I actually really like Leo's suggestion earlier on of being a surprise entrant in Ultimate X. For me, that would actually, I can't think of anything necessarily better unless she just comes out and confronts the champion afterwards. I think she would be a great signing for TNA. I don't really want her to go to like an AEW or Ring of Honor, because I just think AEW don't get enough TV time. Ring of Honor, look, who watches it? Look, if a tree falls, does it make a sound? So it happens in Ring of Honor. Did it really happen? Probably not. So I just, in my opinion, I would love to see her in TNA, because I watch TNA at least about 90% of the time, and I think she will get the appreciation that she's probably not really gathered in her time in WWE. She's had people laugh at her on social media, had people, mock her. She's had dodgy storylines, been the butt of the joke in WWE storylines. I think she could be appreciated. She'd be one of those knockouts that could go in there, be there for about 4 or 5 years, become a knockouts champion, and be treated really, really well, and actually show people, go like, she was all right, why didn't it work for in WWE? Like, genuinely could ask those questions. I actually think she could do well in TNA.
If you want your Deonna Purrazzo replacement, that's the one. If you want someone to come in, Deonna Purrazzo was in exactly the same situation. Left WWE, was critically underutilized in NXT, went to TNA, became a world champion, dominated that division for the last 4 or 5 years, has now gone to AEW. Dana Brooke is in the exact same. Sorry, Ashley Sabera is it? Apologies on the butchering of the pronunciation. Dana is just as good as any other woman in ring. My biggest issue, which I think is the thing which is why she should go to TNA, is it's going to give her an opportunity to build a character and a profile. Because for the longest time, she's always just been a lackey in WWE, and this is the point now where she comes in, she does her own thing, she builds herself up to a point where she then becomes a world champion. And yeah, she's the ideal Deonna Purrazzo replacement.
Absolutely. I agree. I think she could be. The character thing, I think, speaks volumes for me. I would love to see that happen for her in there. I'm actually thinking about changing that prediction for Mercedes Moné. I know it kind of not something we've talked about really that much on this, but I'm just going to say very quickly. I brought this up before. Let's bring it up again. Top right corner. I'm going to go Mandy Rose. I'm going Mandy Rose.
That's a great
and the reason I'm going Mandy Rose is because WWE wouldn't re-sign her. She came away from wrestling. I think she has said she misses it a little bit. And I think that a TNA schedule would suit her perfectly. I don't think that there's anything against her doing the things that she does outside of WWE, outside of TNA would be if she was to sign there. I don't think that would upset them as much as it would upset WWE, because it's not as much of a PG product. And I think that she has improved leaps and bounds from her time when she was in NXT. She was great on the mic, a great character. I think she really improved in ring. She was a year-long NXT Women's Champion. If she'd gone to the main roster at that point, she would have been someone that would have been a challenger. She would have been a player. And I just think with the fact that TNA, they don't do their tapings every single week, she won't have to commit to be there every single week. She can go and do her tapings once every 3 or 4 weeks. She can go away. She can come back. So even though I still think that this could get maybe not fully the biggest and best reaction from everybody, I would say that it could actually fit the bill because of the fact that she's got a strong social media following. She has got some name value, and she is good at what she does. And I think that if she was to come in, she could become the face of that knockouts division within a few short months.
And to be fair, when they turn around and say biggest star TNA have ever signed, hey, the biggest female star they've ever signed, yes, because no one likes they don't like it when you separate them. Now, do they? Men and women, they're all cast as one, and it kind of makes sense. Like I said, I wouldn't be against it. I really like Mandy Rose. Her whole run in NXT vastly improved her in-ring capability, and she was great. It was it was I was the same, was just waiting for it to come up to main roster and just become a world champion, which was what she was missing the whole time she was on the main roster originally. But yeah, I like the suggestion. I think I think it works more than anything, which is the important thing. I think if you turn around and sit and say, have TNA ever signed a female wrestler bigger than Mandy Rose? Or whatever, apologies, the name she ever goes by now. I'm sitting there trying to think of. I can't think of an established household name like a former WWE women's champion that they've signed that has been bigger than Mandy Rose. Has there ever been one?
Mickie James probably be the first one that would come to mind. Maybe Trinity would come into that bracket as well. Currently, outside of that, I think it's up for debate.
So yeah, I like shout. I reckon it could be a good shout, Mandy Rose. I like the sound of it. I'm actually hoping it's Mandy Rose more than Goldberg.
And maybe some others are hoping it's Nick Nemeth for the prediction there. That's what CD ratings for the men, Mercedes Moné for the women, but first pick is Nick Nemeth. I think he would be a great get for TNA just because of the fact he's great in ring. He could be a top guy there. Imagine the matches with Josh Alexander and Alex Shelley and, Alex Hammerstone if they want to do it as well. If he's sticking around, and Moose, there is some stuff they can do. That would be a great suggestion if it was to be there. But the fact is, Dana Brooke not fully popular with everyone in our comments section. But do you know what? She would have a chance to turn herself around. I don't think she should be the biggest signing they make, but she should be a signing that comes in. That's what I would say. She should come in at some point in the night. Another name that I think should come in the night. We're going to wrap things up in the next couple of minutes, so I'm not going to keep on much longer. But the Bunny should come back. And I mentioned this earlier. How would I bring her back in? I'd have her in the Undead Realm. I'd have her there. They've had Courtney Rush and Jessica, which of course are better known as Rosemary and Havoc. They've lost their characters. They need to find a way to go to the Undead Realm. They find the Bunny in there, and that's how they'll come back out. And they can get reincarnated back into the characters that they were moving forward into the brand new TNA. There you go. I promised some fantasy booking for you on that one. There it is. It's there and it's out. I think the Bunny will turn up on this show. She's someone I expect to happen.
Do you think TNA ever sit and think to myself, why do we literally kill these people off in storylines? I think it's always the thing.
It is the worst thing, really, to continually do that. It really is. Is there any other names you want to talk about before we wrap up?
Nah, man. Like I said, yeah, we've waffled on for 90 plus minutes now. So yeah, it's like I said, if it's Goldberg, then just hopefully they do it right. Because the last thing I want is for it to blow up in their faces when it goes horribly wrong.
Absolutely. Let's hope it's not done blown up wrong. But everyone that's watched this, hopefully it's not blown up wrong for you. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. And if you have, make sure to hit that like button. Do share with a friend. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new here. And of course, if you're watching on delay, thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch this podcast. We hope everyone that does enjoy Hard to Kill, of course, TNA is back, it's here to stay. Hard to kill. It always has been, and obviously now TNA will be the future moving forward. And looking forward to seeing the new designs for the championships, the more surprises on that roster, and how this show is going to play out. It should be an absolute banger. Really happy with the return of the company. Really happy with the design of the championships, and really happy to have NXSteve with me on this live stream. It's been great to have you here as always.
Oh, dude, it's always a pleasure, man. Like I said, it's been fun to talk about TNA. Actually, it's something different, and it's like, do you know what I mean? It's been nice to talk. Like I said, recently we've done an ECW review, a pay-per-view review. So go and check that out. It's just good to talk about different things every once in a while. So I thoroughly enjoyed it, man.
I thoroughly enjoyed it as well. It's been great fun indeed. And thank you to our chat as well. It kept us busy for the last hour and 38 minutes. It's been great to have you all here today. But we do hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. And I've got to say, thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. And if you wasn't a part of NXT, wouldn't Joaquin Wild have been a great choice for this one? Of course, DJ Z back in the day. Take care. All the best. We'll see you next time.